First contact, the quantum anomaly detector was never meant to be active that night. The entire facility had entered scheduled shutdown mode for critical system maintenance. Lights dimmed. Power conduits were routed through auxiliary lines. Only the emergency backup generators emitted a low mechanical hum from deep within the basement of the Quantum Research Institute. Most of the staff had long since gone home, leaving only residual warmth in their empty chairs and flickering monitors. Yet one figure remained unmoving, alert, and driven by something more than protocol. Dr. Sarah Chun sat alone in Lab 3, bathed in the cool glow of her personal diagnostic array. She had stayed behind under the pretense of finishing reports, but the truth was less official and far more risky. She was testing a personal enhancement to the anomaly detection system, an unsanctioned modification so radical it could easily cost her the career she'd sacrificed 15 years to build. Still, she had to know of her theory about overlapping quantum harmonics held merit. At precisely 2:47 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The machine blinked. At first, it was almost imperceptible, a subtle fluctuation, no more remarkable than ambient quantum noise, a blip, a flicker, a whisper in the data stream. Sarah's eyes, red-rimmed from sleeplessness, nearly missed it. But something in the oscillation tugged at her intuition. It wasn't static. It wasn't background chatter. It was ... deliberate. She leaned closer. The signal didn't waver. It repeated, structured and sharp like a coded breath from the edge of reality. Computer, she whispered, her voice barely audible. Analyze signal pattern. Cross-reference with all known quantum phenomena. A few seconds passed. Then came the reply, flat and definitive. No match found in existing database. Signal properties do not align with any recorded natural event. Quantum coherence exceeds known thresholds. Structure suggests intelligent origin. Sarah's pulse quickened. She initiated a full-spectrum analysis. The holographic display erupted with cascading data. Her custom software parsed layers upon layers of entangled probability states. What emerged was astounding. A latticework of impossible precision. Each element of the signal carried weight data, rhythm, and intent. It wasn't noise. It wasn't an accident. It was a message, and something had sent it. Within hours, the once dark corridors of the facility burst into frantic motion. Black-suited government operatives arrived in unmarked transports. Technicians rebooted dormant systems. Security sealed off every exit, and Sarah Chun found herself seated in a fortified conference room across from a table of shadowed figures and skeptical experts. A man with iron-gray hair and a badge identifying him only as Director Matthews leaned forward. You're claiming this signal, he said slowly, contains something akin to DNA code? Sarah nodded, fingers gliding through the air to summon the relevant sequence. It's more complex than that, she replied. The entire structure mimics the architectures we find in neural activity, organic, recursive, and self-referencing. It's not just information. It's a form of consciousness. Encoded in quantum layers. A collective hush swept the room. Another figure, an older woman with piercing eyes, spoke next. And you're certain it's not terrestrial in origin? The source is approximately 47,000 light-years from Earth, Sarah answered. Near the outer edge of the Sagittarius arm, the transmission is quantum entangled, no delay, no loss of coherence. We didn't even know this type of channel was possible. She let the silence stretch, forcing them to absorb what she had just said. Double quotes, this ... This is not merely alien. It's paradigm-breaking. In the following days, the Institute became a focal point of global attention, though most of the world remained in the dark. A covert team of physicists, cryptographers, and exobiologists assembled under Sarah's direction. working around the clock to crack the signal's layered complexity. Each breakthrough brought more awe. The signal didn't just deliver knowledge, it taught them how to interpret it. Each decoded segment unlocked the key to the next, like a quantum Rosetta Stone unfolding itself. It's beautifully recursive, Sarah told her closest colleague, Dr. James Harrison, one late evening. It's like whoever sent this wanted to ensure any intelligent species could figure it out if they were patient and curious. James nodded, his expression caught somewhere between admiration and disbelief. But why? Why go to such lengths to be understood? 3 months later, they found out Sarah stood before her team, all eyes on her as she projected a fully decoded segment into the air above them. The senders called themselves the Aryans. They were among the earliest sentient lifeforms in our galaxy, beings who achieved a form of evolution so advanced they transcended physical form. The room was silent. They exist as energy patterns now, consciousness detached from the body. But their quantum matrix is unraveling. Their civilization, billions of minds linked in a collective soul, is dying. Another voice broke the silence. And the other species? The ones they contacted? Sarah's expression darkened. They refused. Every one of them. 32 advanced civilizations turned them away. They claimed the Aryans couldn't be saved. A hush fell again. But our consciousness, she continued, eyes gleaming with restrained hope, our brain waves under deep meditation, there, compatible with Aryan patterns. It's subtle, but it's there. In a leap of compassion and ambition, humanity responded. A transmission was sent back, encoded in the same harmonic language the Aryans used. We hear you. We will try. You are not alone. The reply came almost instantly, coordinates, instructions, and the first real step towards something that could redefine what it meant to be human. The archive suspended like a cathedral carved from light and shadow. The Aryan quantum archive shimmered in the emptiness of space. It could not be seen by the naked eye, only through advanced entanglement sensors aboard humanity's hastily launched vessel, the Curiosity. Dr. Chun stood silently on the observation deck, her reflection ghost-like in the viewplate as she stared at the impossible construct. It's beautiful, she whispered. James Harrison joined her, equally mesmerized. They didn't build it, he murmured. They grew it from the quantum foam itself. This is the physical embodiment of pure consciousness. The archive responded to them. Data poured into their systems not as a flood, but as a guided stream calibrated to human comprehension. The Aryans had not designed it for their peers, they had tailored it for them. We're not just receiving knowledge, Sarah noted during a team debrief. We're being prepared for something much bigger. Each piece of decoded information revealed more of the Aryan soul, a civilization of minds bound together in harmony, now dissolving like mist. Saving them would not be about transferring data, but understanding their very being. And then Sarah saw something strange. She pulled James aside. Look at this consciousness map. The resonance, does it remind you of anything? He examined it and his eyes widened. It's similar to human neural activity under deep meditation. Sarah nodded. It's not just coincidence, it's alignment, harmony. All the other species had failed because they sought to store the Aryans in machines. But what if the solution wasn't mechanical? What if the solution was biological? Human brains, though still a mystery to science in many ways, naturally created quantum coherence during intense introspection, perhaps not as complex as the Aryans, but close enough to evolve. A new plan formed, one that would require unimaginable risk, and not everyone was pleased. Interference. The Galactic Council transmitted a dire warning. Cease all integration experiments. Biological containment of quantum entities is forbidden under Section 47 Beta, Risk level unacceptable. Sarah's jaw tightened. By whose authority do you decide which lives deserve saving? This path leads to instability. Hybrids of such power could threaten galactic order. We forbid it. She looked to her team. No one spoke. No one moved. Then Sarah turned back to the display. We're doing this anyway, and the Aryans responded with trust. Show us who you are. The merge in the meditation chamber aboard. The Curiosity, surrounded by humming quantum field generators and anxious scientists, Dr. Sarah Chung prepared for humanity's most daring leap. She sat cross-legged, eyes closed, breath steady. James hesitated, monitoring her vitals. Field coherence at 90%, neural load increasing. Still stable. You don't have to do this. I do, Sarah replied softly. They believed in us. I believe in us. The integration began. As quantum fields entwined with her thoughts. She felt herself stretching beyond the limits of her body. She could feel the Aryan consciousness waiting open, curious, ancient. And then it merged with her. An explosion of sensation, knowledge in symphonic waves. Dimensions beyond comprehension. Emotions that spanned eons. She saw everything, and she was everything. Galaxies. When she spoke, her voice carried echoes of both human and Aryan consciousness. It works. The merging is stable. Our minds. They're compatible in ways we never imagined. The Aryans aren't just storing their consciousness in our brains, we're creating something entirely new. The council ships maintained their threatening posture, but uncertainty had crept into their communications. They were witnessing something their science had declared impossible, something that challenged their fundamental understanding of consciousness and reality itself. Over the next several hours, more volunteers from the human crew underwent the merger process. Each integration was unique as human and Aryan consciousness found their own ways to coexist and enhance each other. Some humans gained access to vast repositories of ancient knowledge, while others developed the ability to perceive quantum probabilities directly. All of them reported a profound sense of connection, not just to their Arxan partners but to the fabric of reality itself. The council representatives watched in growing bewilderment. As humans, a species they had dismissed as primitive, casually rewrote the laws of what they had thought possible. Their weapons remained armed, but they made no move to fire. The universe they thought they understood was changing before their eyes. James approached Sarah, who was helping another crew member through their first merger. How does it feel? He asked it softly. Sarah smiled, her expression both familiar and somehow more than human. It's like pieing up from a dream and realizing that what we thought was reality was just a tiny fragment of what's possible. The Aryans aren't just teaching us, James, they're showing you what we've always been capable of. Human consciousness. Our creativity, our intuition, our ability to imagine the impossible. It's been preparing us for this moment throughout our entire evolution. A junior scientist rushed into the chamber, excitement breaking through her professional demeanor. Dr. Chen, we're receiving requests from Earth. Thousands of volunteers are coming forward, offering to participate in the integration program. Sarah nodded, unsurprised. It was such a human response. Fist with the unknown, with something that might change them forever. They stepped forward, not with fear, but with hope and curiosity. The Arxan within her consciousness shared her appreciation for human nature. Together they began planning the next phase, the systematic preservation of Arxan civilization, not in machines or databanks, but in the living, growing, evolving consciousness of humanity itself. As the council ships finally withdrew their threats, replaced by requests for observation rights, Sarah felt a profound sense of pride in her species. Humanity had proven once again that their greatest strength wasn't technology or military might, but their fundamental willingness to embrace the unknown, to see possibilities where others saw only barriers, and to extend a helping hand even when doing so meant transforming themselves in ways they couldn't fully predict. The experiment that everyone had called impossible was just the beginning. Humanity was about to embark on an evolution that would reshape not just their species but their understanding of consciousness. Religion, possibility itself, price of compassion. The sanctions hit birth like a tidal wave within days of the successful consciousness integrations aboard the Curiosity. The Galactic Council had declared a complete embargo on human space trade routes, were blocked, scientific exchanges suspended, and diplomatic relations severed. Their message was clear: help the Aryans and humanity would face isolation from the galactic community. Dr. Sarah Chin stood before the United Earth Council, her enhanced consciousness allowing her to perceive quantum patterns of anxiety and determination. S.W. Singh through the chamber, the Arxan presence in her mind which she had come to know as Zenith helped her process the complex web of political and social implications they faced. The Council sanctions are having their intended effect, she reported, projecting holographic data showing economic impacts. Our fledgling colonies in the Alpha Centauri system are cut off from vital supplies. Several major corporations have lost millions in canceled contracts they're trying to force us to abandon the integration program. And yet she continued, her eyes carrying fat distinctive galaxy deep look of emerged consciousness applications for the integration program continue to flood in. Over 2 million volunteers in the past week alone. The chamber erupted in overlapping discussions. Council member Jing raised his hand. For Excellence, Dr. Chen, we understand the humanitarian aspects of saving the Aryans, but can we justify the suffering these sanctions will cause our own people? Sarah felt Zenith's thoughts intertwine with her own as they formulated their response. The question isn't whether we can justify helping the Aryans, she said slowly. The question is, can we justify abandoning them? Just because helping them comes at a cost, she gestured, and new holographic images filled the chamber. Children and integration centers, their eyes filled with wonder as they learned to perceive quantum realities, scientists making breakthrough discoveries. As merged consciousness gaveth them new ways to understand the universe, artists creating works in dimensions that had never existed before. The Council isn't just trying to stop us from saving the Aryans, she explained. They're trying to prevent what? We becoming. Every human who undergo integration emerges changed, enhanced, but still fundamentally human. We're not losing ourselves, we're growing into something more, something that frightens the established powers precisely because they can't control. In a quiet voice spoke from the back of the chamber. Dr. Harrison, who had finally undergone integration himself, stood up. There's something else you should all see, he said, his merged consciousness adding weight to his words. We've been monitoring communications across the galaxy, the Council's actions, their notas unified as they appear. He projected new data streams showing underground movements across dozens of civilizations. Young members of even the most advanced species were questioning their leaders' decisions. The sight of humanity willing to suffer hardship to help another species had sparked something, a revolution of thought that was spreading through the quantum fabric of space itself. The Council fears us because we've proven them wrong. Sarah continued, they said integration was impossible, that biological and quantum consciousness couldn't coexist. We proved them wrong, they said. Trying would destroy us. We proved them wrong. They said no species would accept sick fundamental change. We proved them wrong every time. They said a limit humanity shows that limits are often just an unwillingness to imagine alternatives. The debate raged for hours, but in the end, Earth's decision was unanimous. The integration program would continue. Humanity would face whatever consequences came from their choice to help a dying civilization. The response from the Council was swift and harsh. New sanctions targeted Earth's remaining in trade routes. Automated defense platforms were positioned along major space lanes officially for quarantine purposes. Human ships were banned from most populated systems, but something unexpected was happening as news of Earth's defiance spread. Underground networks began to form. Young members of advanced species fascinated by humanity's willingness to transform themselves to help others began secretly visiting Earth. Some of them requested to observe the integration process, their scientific curiosity overcoming their society's prohibitions. Sarah found herself hosting a clandestine meeting with representatives from 3 of the galaxies. Most advanced civilizations they had come in secret, risking their positions and privileges to understand what their leaders feared so much your species continues. Talkin found our models of Uri scientists admitted their crystalline form shimmering with interest. By all logical analysis, you should have surrendered to the sanctions. Months ago, your economy is suffering, your expansion into space has been halted, and yet we persist. Sarah finished sharing a knowing look with Zenith in her mind. That's what your models never account for: human stubbornness, our unwillingness to accept defeat when we know we're doing the right thing. The meetings continued in secret, and gradually support for humanity's cause grew. Underground networks began smuggling vital supplies to Earth's colonies. Anonymous data packets containing advanced technological info would appear in human networks. Young aliens fascinated by humanity's transformation began seeking asylum on Earth, wanting to study and understand the integration process. The Council's attempt to isolate humanity had instead created an underground revolution. Their sanctions meant to force humanity to abandon their principles had only showcased those principles to a galaxy that had forgotten the value of compassion and courage. As Sarah prepared for another round of integration ceremonies, she received an unexpected quantum transmission. A group of junior council members wanted to open secret negotiations. They had seen enough to know that change was coming, whether their superiors wanted it or not. They fear us, Zenith commented in their shared consciousness. Sarah smiled, both physically and in dimensions only integrated minds could perceive. No, she corrected, they fear what? We represent the idea that growth requires risk, that helping others might mean changing yourself, that the impossible becomes possible when you refuse to accept artificial limitations. The price of compassion had been high, but humanity had shown the galaxy something it desperately needed to remember: that true advancement came not from power or technology, but from willingness to help others, even at great cost to oneself. As the sun set over the Integration Center, Sarah watched new volunteers arrive, their faces filled with determination and hope. The Council could sanction their trade, restrict their MV movement, and try to isolate them from the galactic community, but they couldn't sanction the human spirit, couldn't restrict the spread of ideas, and couldn't isolate the power of compassion to transform both those who received it and those who gave it. Transformation. 1 year after the first integration, Earth had become unrecognizable. Cities pulsed with quantum light, visible only to integrated consciousness. Children played in parks where reality itself seemed to fold and unfold like origami. There merged minds, creating shared spaces of imagination that bridged physical and quantum realms. Dr. Sarah Chin stood atop the newly constructed Harmony Tower in New Delhi, her enhanced perception allowing her to see the streams of quantum consciousness flowing through the city like rivers of light. Beside her, Dr. Harrison observed patterns of humanitarian integration spreading across the globe. 10 million integrations, he said, his voice carrying echoes of his own. Our partner, and each one unique. We expected uniformity, but instead we got evolution. Sarah finished, the Aryan presence in her mind. Zenith rippled with agreement. The integration process had proven far more dynamic than anyone had anticipated. Rather than simply preserving arcs in consciousness, the merging had sparked unprecedented growth in both species. Human creativity, HFY, combined with arcs in knowledge, had begun producing innovations that defied conventional physics. Children born to integrated parents displayed abilities that blurred the line between thought and reality. The transformation wasn't just biological or quantum, it was civilizational. A shimmer in the air announced the arrival of Aurora, the original Arxan representative, now existing in a state that even integrated minds struggle to fully perceive. That Council science SSTS have finally admitted what we discovered through observation. Aurora communicated human consciousness possesses a unique quantum property, the ability to exist in a state of Perpetual creative possibility, Sarah nodded, understanding flowing through her merged consciousness. It's why we can imagine things that don't exist, visualize potential. Futures create art that transforms emotions into experience our minds naturally operate in. Quantum superposition, even if one never realized it, alert pulsed through their quantum network. Another council ship had arrived in orbit, ignoring the established quarantine protocols, but unlike previous encounters, this vessel carried no weapons. Instead, it broadcasted a simple message on all frequencies. We request permission to observe. We need to understand. The ship carried senior scientists from 3 of the galaxy's most advanced sea civilizations. They had defied their governments, risked their positions, all because they couldn't ignore the evidence any longer. Humanity wasn't just serving integration. They were thriving, evolving, becoming something that challenged everything the galaxy thought it knew about consciousness and possibility. In a secure conference room, Sarah and her team met with the alien scientists, the visitors. Shock was palpable as they witnessed young humans casually manipulating quantum field integrated couples, sharing thoughts across impossible distances. Artists creating works that existed in dimensions their species couldn't even perceive. Impossible, one of the alien scientists whispered, their crystalline form vibrating with emotion. Your children, they're accessing quantum states that are most advanced machines can't even measure. Sarah smiled, reburbing her own initial disbelief. That's because you're still thinking in terms of measurement and control. Human consciousness doesn't try to control quantum reality. It dreams with it, dances with it, plays with it. We don't see barriers between what is and what could be. The transformation wasn't without its challenges. Some humans chose to remain unintegrated, leading to new social dynamics that had to be carefully managed. The physical world had to be adapted to accommodate beings who increasingly existed in multiple states of reality. Simultaneous ludic systems were completely redesigned to handle children who could perceive quantum probabilities as easily as colors, but the most profound changes were philosophical. The merging of human and Aryan consciousness had created a new perspective on existence itself, whereas there had been clear divisions between thought and reality, between possibility and actuality. Now there was a flowing continuum of potential. A group of integrated children demonstrated this by creating a shared quantum space in the conference room, a swirling galaxy of thoughts and possibilities that Thelian scientists could perceive through their instruments but couldn't fully comprehend. The children moved through quantum states as naturally as they walked through physical space. Their merged consciousness turning imagination into reality. This is why the Council feared integration. One of the alien scientists realized, you're not just preserving the Aryans, you're becoming something entirely new, something beyond control. Not beyond control, Sarah corrected. Zenith's thoughts harmonizing with her own Bayan limitation were becoming what both humans and Aryans were always meant to be, beings who understand that consciousness itself is the bridge between what is and what could be. The alien scientists spent weeks documenting the transformation. Their report sending shockwaves through galactic society. They observed integrated humans solving mathematical problems that had stumped their supercomputers, healing injuries through quantum manipulation of probability, and even beginning to perceive possible futures as clearly as memories. But what struck them most was how human the integrated beings remained. They still laughed, loved, argued, and dreamed. They still celebrated birthdays and worried about their children's future. The integration hadn't erased their humanity, it had enhanced it, given it new dimensions of expression. As the alien scientists prepared to depart, their crystalline forms humming with barely contained excitement, Sarah received an unexpected quantum transmission. Young members of dozens of species across the galaxy were demanding the right to undergo integration. The transformation that had begun with humanity was spreading, carried not by force or technology, but by the simple power of possibility. They'll tried to stop it, Dr. Harrison commented, watching the council ship depart. The old power structures, the ones built on limitation and control. Won't go quietly. Sarah looked out over the quantum-lit city, seeing festreams of merged consciousness flowing. Like rivers of light and possibility. Let them try, she said, her voice carrying echoes of both human determination and Arxan wisdom. You can't stop an idea whose time has come, and you certainly can't stop evolution once it begins the transformation. That had started with a simple act of compassion. Humanity's choice to help a dying species was becoming something far greater. It was becoming a revolution in consciousness itself, a new chapter in the evolution of life in the galaxy, and it had all started because humans alone among all the advanced species had been willing to say yes when asked to imagine the impossible.